Hi Sudeep, good to see you on Insta. Hi Aditi. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Future of. The Future of is a series that we do with thought leaders in the industry, where we actually talk about the future of a particular subject. Very interesting. We've done a couple of very interesting series earlier, and we are now also on Clubhouse. So do join our group, hashtag the future of, and we plan to have a lot of interesting conversations out there where you can be a part of. Hello, Mohammed. Hello, Chef Deepak on Insta. If you are joining in through Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, do leave your name behind because very often the name is not visible on StreamYard unless you actually click on the banner. So, welcome to the Future of, and today we are very happy to have with us a person who is doing in the liquor industry, more so the spirit whiskey space. And we are very excited for today's session. And today we have none other than Angad Singh Gandhi with us. Welcome, Angad. I'm just adding you on. Hey, Bisham. Welcome, Angad. How are you? Can you hear me? Are we audible?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Angad, I've just added you onto Instagram also, and I'm just setting this there. So
Super,
we are
super.
on Insta Live too, and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the groups, and a lot of them. Sorry, there's an echo. I'm just going to adjust this. Hi, Indrapreet. Hi, Bisham. Good to see you all, guys. Um,
Perfect.
and So welcome, Angad. Angad is the Glenfiddich brand ambassador, if I may put it
Thank you,
shortly.
Samir. Thank you so much. I've never done this being on two screens together, so it's a little bit confusing. But I'm always already getting a hang of it.
Yeah, it is confusing. I still, till date, Angad, find it confusing at times. But it's interesting. It's something interesting to do. And you reach a lot more people with a lot of information that they would look
Right.
at. So I
Lovely.
think that is the key. So, Angad, the future of now,
Turn off spirits.
very, yeah, future of more whiskeys and single malts is what we are looking at in India specifically. Angad, you've had great experience in the whiskey space per se and others also. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience before we start shooting the questions off?
Sure, Samir. I've done a session with you last year, so we will definitely get some
Yes.
audience that's from there. But I've been with Glenfiddich for a few years now, and I specialize in single malt whiskey. That's uh, is what we basically make there. But apart from that, I'm a whiskey enthusiast from a long time, and I just love talking about all things whiskey.
Yes, that's absolutely brilliant. And we
Thank you for
have
having me.
yes, cheers to that, and cheers with more so this.
Perfect. And
Absolutely.
I'm having the other cousin, the elder cousin of the one that you're drinking, the IPA.
Yes, yes, and this is the Project
Project 20.
20,
Project
yeah, which is quite
20.
interesting actually.
Number two, and this is experiment number one. But Project 20, hands down, is my favorite experimental series whiskey, apart from the Winter Storm.
Yeah, absolutely love it, Angad. So, Angad, let's get right into it because it's not a very long session.
I'm really
It is more or less half an hour to 40 minutes that we look at. And,
let's do it.
so let's get right to it. Whiskey, Angad, is the most consumed spirit, so they say, in India by volume, if I'm not mistaken. But does whiskey also dominate the premium spirits market in the country?
Pretty much. I mean, yes, India is dominated by brown spirits, rum, and whiskey, with whiskey having a upper hand there. And yes, premium spirits, if we talk about premium spirits, it would be definitely whiskey, cognac, and champagne. Cognac and
Okay.
champagne have been in the market for the longest times as well. And I would say maybe in the 1800s, there would be more of cognacs of those premium values and wines probably. But now in today's world, whiskey is more premium than any other spirit amount, or equally premium to the champagnes, cognacs, and some exclusive wines.
Yes.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is it do they dominate the space, or still it is wines and cognacs and champagne, etc., in the
No,
luxury upmarket premium spirits market
right.
in the country?
So 100% whiskey has been on the forefront of things. If you see the most luxurious companies of the world or the luxurious products, they definitely involve a single malt whiskey today. Uh, there are definitely a few companies here like LVMH or other
Yes.
luxury companies that are acquiring
Yes.
whiskey brands, are premierizing the whole industry. So yes, I feel that whiskey is definitely dominating the luxury spirit space as well.
Okay. Okay. That's fantastic. What is the when you look at the market share of imported whiskey and single malt, what is the market share of imported whiskey in India, and what percentage of the imported whiskey is single malt?
Right. So
Because you have a lot of blended, you have a lot of other
exactly.
whiskeys also which are imported. Yes.
This word whiskey, Samir, it's a huge ocean, right? There are so
Yes.
many types of whiskeys, and uh, in like in a broader term, whiskey is a spirit made up of grain, and there are, as you all know, that there'll be a lot of whiskeys in India made in India, which are basically made up of molasses, which is not exactly whiskey. But if I have a percentage of things, then I would definitely say that around the total size of the category is around 270 to 280 million cases, uh,
Okay.
out of which what I think about what 1.3 or 1.4 million cases would be BIO, which is bottled in origin, which is whiskey
Yes.
coming from abroad. And
Yes.
out of that entire number, the concentration of single malt whiskies amongst that is about 11%.
Okay. Okay.
So we are, a single malt category is about a lakh 30,000 cases category,
Yes.
which is definitely growing as the premiumization of spirits is happening in India and globally. So that's what is going up.
Okay, Angad, you got disconnected from Instagram, so
I'll
I'm
just come
adding
back.
you again. Yeah, one
Yeah.
second. Yeah, I've just invited you. Sudeep Mujumdar said you are not on Insta again, so sorry for that, guys. Okay, you're back on. Great.
Sorry, Sudeep. How are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you were
Saying,
talking about the numbers. Yeah.
yeah, that number is 11% as single malt is concerned, of the BIO, which is bottled in origin, and that number is actually growing at a very fast pace because the entire category is growing. People are upgrading themselves. People are traveling more. They're able to uh, get a bigger wallet and a better palate, which is trying to
Yes.
upgrade themselves from the choice of whiskeys that they've been drinking all this while.
Yes. So, guys, all the people watching on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, this session is at your discretion. Please, only people over a certain age, because that is a disclaimer we need to put. And
Yeah.
yeah, of course, please drink responsibly. Okay, Angad, back to the questions. When you look at Indian drinkers, Angad, the people who actually drink, do they care that most of the Indian whiskey, as you said earlier, is molasses? Does it make a difference to them?
So, about Indian whiskey, when we say the word Indian whiskey, there are
Yeah.
definitely some Indian whiskeys with a single malt whiskeys or great whiskeys as well, and
Yes.
are making made out of grain. So many examples from we've been making good quality grain whiskey from last 100 years probably.
Yes.
Uh, but yeah, consumers in the country, I mean, there are all sorts of consumers, right? We have a huge chunk of luxurious consumers and a huge chunk of people who drink molasses-based spirits, which are whiskeys in their
Yeah.
language. Uh, World's highest selling whiskey, a whiskey called Officer's Choice, or so many, man, McDowell number
Yeah.
one, so
Yeah.
many amazing brands,
Yeah. Yeah.
are being drank around the country. And consumer is all the time not really worried about what is in the whiskey, whether it's grain or it's molasses. He's there
Yeah.
to have a
Yeah.
good time, right? And
Yes.
pocket can afford at that particular moment, he goes for that and has a good time with his friends, and it's only uh, a smaller chunk that actually gets into the science and the method behind the madness and goes
Behind.
into reading that. I mean, I would definitely say a lot of people who actually drink single malts also sometimes don't really want to understand the science behind it, because they're there to
Yes.
enjoy that for a particular moment. But yeah, that is changing today, and everybody's uh, trying to know more, learn more, and
Yes.
definitely experiment more is how I would like to call it.
Yes. Agree. But I think it's fair enough for those who want to just enjoy it. Why not? Go ahead.
Why not? Right, absolutely. It's
No?
something to enjoy. So however you want it, right? That's the most
Yes.
important.
Angad, you are a young professional working in the premium whiskey space, and you're a social drinker yourself. How do you think your peers perceive whiskey compared to the previous generation of drinkers?
So I think entire whiskey as a word is really evolved from that time to what today it is.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of people are being really, really, like, earlier whiskey was totally taken as a very serious drink, as a
Yes.
leather couched, cigar smoking, leather, a suit wearing kind of a drink, right? People would be like,
Yes.
uh, get dressed up to drink single
To
malt whiskey.
drink.
Now
Yeah.
people, I
Yeah.
think, are really experimenting, and they're going for different brands. They're not sticking to one particular brand, though we have fans of the brands and people who are really attached to the brands. But today, the consumer wants to go and try new things and experiment.
Yes.
Different kind of casks, different kind of finishes, and explore a little more than before. A consumer is
Yes.
definitely looking for more of an experience than just drinking, and that's why they are
Drinking.
trying to make more of cocktails, try more of drinks which are made differently, not just sticking to simple whiskey on the rocks kind of a situation. So that is, I think, a great thing for consumers here to have in India.
Yes. No, absolutely. Now, India has produced so many amazing whiskies, as you said, since years. And now, they've actually, the Indian single malts are doing fantastically well. For
Right.
example, whether you talk about a Paul John, Amrut, and there are so many more which have just come up. And they are fantastic whiskies, and they're doing globally very well, and in the country also. A lot of them launch globally first, and then come,
Yeah.
then come to the Indian market. But is it the emergence of Indian single malts, has it challenged or has it helped grow the whiskey market share in India? And if it is challenged, is there a kind of competition that exists between brands? How does it work?
I think it's a bit of both. They definitely
Okay.
have increased awareness about the product and gotten to more consumers when it comes to a single malt whiskey.
Yes.
As a the base is growing, the consumer is increasing, and a lot of consumer is increasing because of Indian single malts as well as Scottish single malts. And that's the new thing, as you were asking me. That's probably the biggest trend that is happening today. That earlier we used to see Scotland making most of the single malts, but today countries like India, Asian countries like Taiwan, China, Japan, Australia, everybody's making a lot of single malt whiskeys, which all are good single malt whiskeys. So
Yes.
uh, I definitely say that they are helping to increase the base and awareness about it. Uh, but surely, I'm sure in times to come that we will, like, the Scottish single malt brands will face a lot of competition from the Indian brands as well when it
Yes.
comes to a certain category and a price range of a product that the consumer is looking for.
Yes. So when a consumer chooses Angad, they choose very often. It's a very price sensitive market whiskey for some of the consumers. But for the other consumers, what they want is what they want. For the premium consumers, they don't care about price.
That's absolutely right, and I mean, it has no end to it. Right? They are
Yeah.
connoisseurs and collectors and limited edition bottles which go really high when it comes to the price points, and there's a market of pretty much everything around, right?
Yes.
We as a family owned business, Glenfiddich, and as a product, we have a huge range of whiskey starting from 12-year-old to something about 50-year-old when it comes to
Yes.
age. It's a huge
Yes.
variation. And exploration, which is what you are drinking and what I'm drinking, which are
Yeah.
non-age statements but experimental whiskey. So I think definitely the premiumization is happening there, and people are today picking whiskies from pretty much all genres of it.
Okay. That's interesting. Angad, now this we were talking about the current situation, the current market scenario, the current drinkers of whiskey. Let's look at the future now, to the future. And let us talk about the future of premium single malts, premium whiskies in India. So, whether it is whiskies or single malts, let's focus on that now and get your views on that. When you look at drinkers, whiskey normally was in India traditionally had with whiskey and soda or whiskey and water, probably generations back. The
Right.
future, and even currently, the trend has been changing. How do you see consumption of whiskey? In what format will the young Indians or the new users or the existing users actually consume whiskey going forward? And premium whiskey or single malts?
Perfect. So, having said that, the method that everybody's having their whiskey is to each his choice, and there's no right and wrong way to have your whiskey. Though we advise that little bit of water opens a whiskey up, but yeah,
Yeah.
people will have whiskey in soda, in on the rocks, straight up with water, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. Uh,
Yes.
way the consumer is really exploring and enjoying whiskey, and he's trying to have whiskey in whichever possible way he likes it.
He
Uh,
likes. Yes.
that's why we see a lot of new whiskey based cocktails which people are getting hang on, and they're trying to make some easy cocktails at home as well. Old fashioned or a highball being probably the perfect examples of it. Uh, in future, I think definitely new ways of consuming whiskey with more different type of mixers and ratios in which we mix in cocktails would definitely happen. There would be more cocktails coming in. What consumer will be looking for is more of an experience and more of an environment to drink the whiskey is what is changing, I feel. And the existing whiskey ways, they will never get old. Uh,
Okay.
just with
Yeah.
water or with few rocks in it, or maybe
Yes.
a splash of soda. I think there's some rock star ways of drinking whiskey, and I don't think they will ever get out of fashion.
Yes, agreed. Absolutely, Angad. Angad, this question was from Bhisham, and he actually, was quite excited with this session and said, he had a couple of questions. So one of this was looking ahead, will single malts continue to grow and perhaps even overtake the blended whiskey market in India?
That's a tricky question actually, because I mean, I'm not sure whether single malts will be able to overtake the market, or whether that is the aim for single malt as a category as well.
Okay.
Uh, but definitely, single malt is eating from the pie and the segment uh, of premium blended whiskies, and they are eating from the pie of more of Indian whiskies. As the consumer is earning more money, he's getting to invest more money on his choices. So
Yes.
segmentations will definitely increase. Single malt will grow at a faster pace than the blended whiskey industry,
Market.
because the
Yeah.
base is
Yeah.
much smaller and there's a higher scope of exploration for the consumer. But
Yes.
having said that, I would not be the best person to predict whether it'll be able to take over the blended Scotch
The
category, because
yeah.
that's huge,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's a huge category. Absolutely. As they say, by volume, Indians are one of the highest consumption of the of whiskey in the world. Does that still hold good?
Yeah, I mean, our per capita consumption might not be as huge or as big,
Okay.
but definitely
Okay.
as a country, we are big population, right?
Big,
And
big. Yeah, yeah,
we drink, we love to drink whiskey. So yeah, we
yeah.
definitely be amongst the uh, top five consumers of whiskey as a category. But if I
Yes.
talk about single malt, then also we should be in the top 10.
Top
Uh,
10.
yeah,
Yeah. So
markets
I
for
think,
single malt.
yeah, yeah. Because I do think that Indians, especially the drinkers who actually drink spirits, they've been grown up actually seeing their parents and families drink whiskey per se, and then the other spirits come into play.
That's true. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
widespread illusion is what is going on right now, and
Yes.
gin, as they say, is the cooler drink these days. But
Yes.
having said that, we all have seen our families, parents, and friends around us drinking whiskey. I'm a 80s kid. I've drank whiskey pretty much as a part of growing up these years. Uh,
Yes.
I would say it's still the most coolest thing when it when we are having whiskey with our friends,
Yeah.
and I'm 100% sure that it is something that will never ever go out
Ever.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
never out of.
Okay. Saloni asks on Instagram, has the pandemic actually affected, the consumption or sales of premium whiskies and single malts?
I didn't get the question. The consumption has
I,
what?
has the pandemic affected the sales, yeah,
Right, right, right.
and
So
consumption of premium whiskies and single malts?
I would say yes, definitely, because if you know, Samir, and you would agree when I say this, a lot of consumers actually prefer buying their single malts and premium spirits from duty-free shops
Yes.
because of a lot of reasons. And
Yes.
that chunk has really gone down in terms of sales because of our traveling being restricted and being decreased to pretty much the lowest level. I mean, we always used to travel and used to buy our stock, but that part of that quota of whiskey now is what we are trying to buy from the domestic markets, from the domestic shops. So
Yes.
though there is a dip in the sales in terms of the GTR, which is Global Travel Retail, the uh, duty-free
Yeah.
shops at the airports,
Yes. Yes.
definitely that would have also impacted an increase in sales in the domestic market
Okay.
for single malts and other premium spirits. So I think
Okay.
at the end there would be an impact, but it's definitely not an impact that uh, we would not be able to not mitigate. I mean,
Okay.
definitely companies would be able to sell more product in the domestic markets because the consumption is happening, right? The consumption is
Yes.
not gone down that. What happens in premier spirits and single malts specifically, Samir, also is that consumer wants to enjoy these products at a on-trade location, which is the bars, restaurants, hotels, and
True.
more while he's socializing. So that is one area that also gets affected when it comes to sales.
Yes.
Also, bigger occasions and celebrations, as we say, because it
Yes.
is definitely something that people like to consume when they're celebrating something.
Yes.
Opportunities have decreased, and that could be another area to look at where sales could have been impacted. But fingers crossed. I hope we get over this really, really soon, and everybody can go and have an access to purchasing their preferred dram.
Yes. Okay. Another question on screen: are more Indian millennials trying single malts as the first whiskey experience as opposed to blended whiskey?
Not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, I wasn't as lucky to try my first whiskey as a single malt whiskey. It was a blended whiskey. Uh,
Yes.
and I'm not really generally. I mean, Uh, there are a lot of millennials that are drinking a lot of single malt whiskey, and they're really lucky, and that's brilliant. There's nothing wrong in that, but I'm, I think that majority of them would be going through blended whiskey to single malt whiskey
To single malt whiskey.
as how I feel. Yeah, I mean, definitely they're trying blended whiskey with their friends, and maybe an Irish whiskey or
Yes.
maybe a bourbon whiskey is what I would be trying probably to begin with at a much earlier age, because of the drinking styles associated to them. So maybe a Jack and a Coke or a Jameson ginger ale are much
Yes.
cooler for me to start my whiskey journey rather than putting my nose into
Single malt. Yes.
into a aged oaked sherry cask single malt whiskey, which will be
Yes.
like, okay, what am I consuming at the very beginning of my journey? So, yeah,
Yes. No, absolutely. And the world, Angad, is going through a sea change with the pandemic, the lockdowns, etc. Looking
right,
forward, when you're looking at consumption of whiskey, trends of drinking premium spirits and specifically premium whiskeys and single malts,
right,
is there any game-changing trend that you see in the future in the premium whiskey space in India and on the globe? Probably in the next 5 years or 10 years, are there certain things that you'll see evolution of in consumption, in production, in whatever, in the
right.
premium
So
space? Yeah.
I would definitely say more of an experience-based approach is what I think you lost me on Instagram once again, right?
Oh, yes. Okay. I don't know why that's happening, but yes.
No,
One
maybe it's
second.
maybe it's because of poor network at my space, man. Not your bad.
Yeah, yeah. One second.
I'm sending you a
I'm
request again.
adding you. No, no, I've added you. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay,
Uh,
you're back.
I would say one of the trends that could definitely be popular in future would be more about experimental whiskies, which have been aged or finished, or some part of the process has been done differently to give
Okay,
experience of a different experience to the consumer. Again and
okay.
again, I keep on talking about these two words, experience and experiment. I feel, but that's the reality and that's the future. Consumer wants a brilliant experience and he wants to try something new. Today, the consumer is ready to try something new, which is the beauty of the entire thing. I mean, earlier we used to feel that we'll stick to one choice of whiskey and that be it. But the younger consumer, the millennials, as you were talking about today, when go to a bar, every time they go, they want to try something new, man. They ask the
Yes,
bartender, "What will you fix for me today?" That
yes,
process thought, or as they say, vibe wasn't there before,
yes,
which is today, and that's what is the future of whiskey. I feel the
okay.
consumer will go out, explore more, and whiskey brands will be very cognizant of the fact that they can never be complacent about making the same styles of whiskeys. They have to re-innovate all the time. They have to think of
Yes,
ways to experiment, make whiskey differently. Uh,
yes,
not only packaging, but there are so many other aspects. I mean, from as simple as glassware to iceware. If you see, Sameer, earlier we
yes.
used to have iceware from our freezers, which were mostly white looking, where they
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
yeah,
everything. Yeah,
today we see clear ice in the cocktails, right? There's a
yes,
huge
yeah.
evolution of a simple thing that has happened. I mean, I never had top closed glasses 10 years back in my
10
house. My,
years.
my was
Absolutely.
great, solid and thick. The glassware has changed so much, if you see. So the
Yes.
entire experience for a consumer is really changing, and that is the future, I feel.
Okay.
If we can have more, so today you would be seeing those kind of ice cubes which are like metal, and you don't really have to chill them because of magnetic field. They are chilling, and all sorts of new things I'm seeing today, and I'm really excited for the times. There are whiskey companies which are aging whiskeys under the sea. There are companies which are aging whiskey with robotics. There are whiskey
Wow.
companies and associations which are trying to age whiskey in space. So many of such things are happening,
My God.
which are
Crazy.
great,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be honest.
absolutely. Yes.
And that's the future of whiskey, Samir, for me.
Yeah. So they are these companies that you talk about are experimenting themselves to actually change the flavor, the texture, and the taste of the premium whiskies and single malt. Is that the objective?
See, the objective is to make a consistent, great product for the consumers, which they are either which is making. But the idea is to be relevant to all segments of the society and not
Okay.
only look at a certain percentage and segment of the society. So
Okay.
as we were talking about, and I was mentioning that earlier, it was a very serious drink, and now the segment is really opening up and increasing. So we need to have relevant products for a larger segment of the society, and that's
Segment
the
of
aim
it.
for the whiskey companies, to make a product which is more versatile or have more products which
Yes.
cater to every segment of the society to be in, and that's why you uh, just can't make a straightforward 12, 15, and 18 for a giant whiskey company like. Glenfiddich, we need to have
Yeah.
a huge range. And
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
the idea for pretty much the other whiskey companies as well.
Yes. So, Angad, before we take this question, what is the current percentage of, say, Glenfiddich in India of actually consuming at home and going out and experiencing Glenfiddich either raw or in cocktails, etc.? Currently, what is the situation, percentage-wise, vaguely?
So, I mean, if the question is what is the split between off trade, which is
Yes.
buying from the shop, and on trade, which is going out and drinking it
Yeah,
at
but
a
I
restaurant.
just tried to put it simply so everyone would understand. That's the
Right,
question.
right, right.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
buying it from a liquor store versus buying it from a
Or going to
bar.
a restaurant and enjoying it. Yes.
Right, right, right. I would still say it is a 60-40 or a 65-35 ratio. 60-40 is what it seemed to me till some time back. But in current scenario, while COVID is there, it'll be much more at home. But 60-40 also is a great ratio to have, and where on trade is a huge channel for you. The perfect numbers, I don't think I'll be the best person to give you right
Okay.
now, but I'll get back to you with those numbers as well. What is the
Yeah.
scenario right now? Uh,
Yeah.
but definitely, man, this is one category where I've seen people going on and you know shifting to the category once they've gone on and have those drinks at the bar,
Yes.
rather than a whole bottle of it at the very beginning.
Yes. And do you think the future that percentage is going to change of
Yes,
consumption in India? And how do you see it
100%,
changing?
100%. I mean, think
Okay.
of it, Samir. We lived in a country all our life. Alcohol
Yes.
was drinking alcohol wasn't celebrated or
Yes.
spoken about in great light, and not and still not in probably 80% of the
In a
country.
lot of places. Yeah. Yeah.
In 80% of the country, people still think it's a huge taboo, and there are qualms and things associated to it. But mindset of the people are changing. They're adapting to it, and the category is increasing. And we see
Yes.
a lot of new young talent coming and accepting the industry. Who are if you see the industry, the barkeeps, the bartenders, the mixologists coming from different parts of India are probably doing pretty much the best in the world. Our boys are representing India in different parts of the world, which is great thing to have. We also see consumer traveling to different parts of the world from India, and Indian travelers as a percentage has really increased.
Increase.
And all these things are helping to take the numbers forward and ahead.
So my question again, do you think home consumption is going to increase as a split of percentage versus experiential consumption?
I think experiential consumption is definitely what is going to increase in times to come. There would be more
Okay.
bars. People will go out even more than what they do even today. If you
Okay.
think about tier two cities, we are yet to see bars open there. So there's a huge scope of consumer moving out and having a drink as they have in Western countries. People go out and
Yes.
they have a drink and they celebrate. Once this taboo is over and in smaller parts of the country, we'll definitely see more of drinking culture coming in, and uh, the culture of people going out to have a drink will definitely increase.
Okay. So you actually see that happening.
A hundred.
But you think home consumption will reduce or
I
will it
mean,
stay the same?
in the current scenario of a pandemic, I think it's gonna increase for the coming few years till we are completely out of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we will be completely out of it, but I really hope so. And
Yes.
and definitely there will be for the interim 1.5 2 years, we'll see a huge boost in home house parties and consuming alcohol indoors at their home. By purchasing will also really increase, but eventually I feel that on trade and people going out to bars will definitely go higher.
Go higher. So, Angad, before we end the session, there were a couple of questions. I also wanted to ask you. Weber asked a question. What was that? What do you think about coffee and whiskey as a cocktail? Okay, a pairing.
Okay, so yeah, we have a few cocktails which we can make with whiskey, which are a twist to an espresso martini,
Yes.
and we can make that with any kind of whiskey that you can get your hand on. You can
Okay.
uh, have your coffee shot with whiskey, some cream, some Baileys or some chocolate bitters, and you can have them in the form of a nice whiskey martini, I would say.
Yeah. So, absolutely. So, I hope that answered your question. Angad, when you look at Glenfiddich in India, you're logged on again on Insta. So, I am going to add you on.
Right.
While I do that, my question is when you look at Glenfiddich in India, what is the percentage of, as you compare to the world? I mean, does India rank anywhere in the global scenario of consumption of Glenfiddich as a brand?
100%. It's a very significant pie and chunk of that volume.
Okay.
Uh, Percentage wise, I won't be the best person to comment on the right number, but it's a huge chunk of the global production of what we make in Dufton. Uh, but the growth, if you talk about the growth, Samir,
Yes. Yes.
they are very important part for any whiskey company from a growth perspective.
Okay.
Uh, it is a company, it is a country that will help a lot of whiskey companies or other spirit companies to grow because we have such a huge base of people uh,
Yes.
are progressing and developing and going ahead in the right direction. So 100% one of the key markets for pretty much all the whiskey or spirit industries companies across the world.
Okay. And what is the future of Glenfiddich in India? What are you looking at it as a strategy or plan for the future?
I think premiumization of the entire spirit industry and leading the premiumization is on the key focus of the company. We want to be the preferred choice of spirit whenever the consumer is thinking luxury, whenever the consumer is thinking, celebration, and
Yes.
that's what we try to bring on the table for the consumer as well, whether it be events, whether it be associations, whether it be occasions for them to celebrate. That's where we want to be positioned at, and that's probably the future for Glenfiddich in India.
Fantastic, Angad. Before we go, a question by Facebook. Someone from Facebook. Why aren't whiskeys available in smaller bottles? Not miniatures, but smaller.
How small does he want it?
I don't know. Even I'm wondering. But
How
Glenfiddich,
small
you
does
normally get
it?
in a bottle like this. Do you also get a half?
Yeah, that's right. We have a half in a lot of markets.
Okay.
Not like a half, but a five or a three, something like that bottle. And we
Okay.
have miniatures. We have miniatures of all the
Yes.
products.
Yes.
Such premium spirits, we don't really create a lot of smaller quantity bottles, and we don't really go and put that out there. Uh, there are a lot of reasons behind it. But in future, as I would be predicting, I would definitely say that uh, smaller bottles of premium spirits will definitely have a market,
Okay.
because they are such, it's a tricky question for me to personally answer, but I think
Yeah.
that a lot of spirit companies will come with smaller quantity offerings to recruit and upgrade consumer going forward,
Yes.
in the Indian scheme of things, because our consumer somehow is now moving towards the category, but is still quite price sensitive to try and upgrade himself. Uh, there is no reason why we should not have these offerings to begin with in
Absolutely.
series. But so
Absolutely.
the thing is that in terms of being value for money for these products, they should be in those sizes, because the cost really becomes radical, and it goes.
Yes.
It's sometimes quite high. If you see the cost of a miniature and you proportionate it to a cost of a big bottle, you would see the cost is quite different. But uh, yeah, in future, I see a huge.
Change in the bottling.
Yeah,
So 200 ml SKUs kind of thing.
not sure about 200 ml, but yeah, more like 250, 300 ml. Yeah, about
Okay. Okay.
four large drinks. Yeah, four or
Yeah.
five large drinks. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then, so the future seems bright for the premium spirits industry and the single malt industry. In spite of the lockdown, I think there's a great future as you described it, Angad. So cheers to that. And thank you for being with us and looking forward to another session soon.
Thank you, Sameer, and really love the work that you've put behind the Future of series. Thank you all you guys for joining in. It's been a pleasure as always. I'm coming live after a long time, so I feel
Yeah,
great.
I know. Yeah, you've been earlier doing a lot of lives and then you just stopped it completely.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things happening in my personal life. I was in the process of getting married at that time, and which is now
Yes,
done. So now I think I'll be coming back to my zone slowly and steadily. But
yes,
it's good to
absolutely.
get some time off everything, right?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for enlightening us, Angad, and answering the questions. And looking forward and cheers to Glenfiddich in the
Cheers to
country.
you, Sandeep. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Cheers. Goodbye. 1 second.